Hey guys, thanks so much for coming today. What we're doing today is we're having a bit of a panel discussion with some alumni and current students, soon-to-be alumni, about internships when it comes to mass communication. So before we start, I just want to introduce everybody. This is Amanda Carey, Ryan Falatico, Ali Elner, and David Taylor. Thank you guys for coming. Really appreciate it. So we don't have a ton of time, so I just kind of want to kick it off. So if we could just go straight down the line. Talk a little bit about the internship process and how it worked for each one of you. What was your experience? And we'll obviously delve a little bit deeper into that. But Ali.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Amanda.
No
really
problem. So basically, I interned the summer of 2017
Okay.
at Broadcasting. I went through the process to just go in for an in-person interview. He decides if he wants to do. At my internship specifically, because it was a summer, we do a lot of summer concerts.
Okay.
So we have a bunch of concerts that we go to, and then at the end of summer, he decided that he wanted to keep me, so I do still work there.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's mostly concerts, promotions. I started doing some production stuff while I was still an intern, but
And what's your title now?
It's a good question.
That's a good question. You're welcome.
I guess you could say like promotions assistant / like production cover.
Okay.
Because I cover production, I don't have like a specific spot, and I'm a board up that I could use. So I board up every week.
That's fair. What about you, Ryan?
Same thing as well. I also work at JVC Broadcasting. It was during the summer of 2017, right after graduation, and I had the same in-person interview. During the whole internship program, concert series, there was a lot of concerts that we had, a lot of hands-on, a lot of people talking. The audience, you know, like being there, interacting with people, and I ended up getting hired at the end of the internship, fall, and now I am a producer for this, most of the stations, for the 5 stations, and I'm also a fill-in for on-air personalities. Okay. And yeah, that's where I am right now.
You wear a lot of hats. You're literally wearing a hat.
Yeah, I do wear a lot of hats.
What about so you, Ali? You're interning.
I did last semester.
And where did you intern?
I entered at Celebrity Cafe, so it's an online publication.
Oh, sweet. So you actually was your internship fully online? Were you ever?
Nope, I never met anyone.
That's amazing. I want to go into it a little bit deeper, but so how did the process work for you as far as like getting to it?
So they came to the career fair last year in spring, so that's initially how I met them, and the editor that I met her. She's the only person I ever met. But I just talked to her a little bit about it and then applied, and it was a super easy process. Since they are mostly online, they just wanted some writing samples, a resume, and they looked a lot at my social media pages.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's what sold them.
Because yours is it's certainly a unique one because you don't see a lot of strictly online internships, but I'm going to come back to it. And what about you, Tim?
I waited to the last minute for my 2 internships.
Nice job.
I ended up doing a winternship and then a full length. And
Did you just say winternship?
Yes.
I really appreciate that.
The
That
official
was
word
awesome.
for it.
Yeah.
So that one was interesting because I had, like to squeeze the whole, 30 hours, I think, into 90 hours into 2 months. So normally our internships at Dan's Papers are 2 days a week. I did 5 and just burned through it. And then I did a different internship in my longer semester, which didn't work out, so I ended up back at Dan's.
Okay, sweet. Now, we're not going to go into specific order for the rest of it, so anyone who wants to take it can take it. At the time you were really looking into doing an internship, what were your greatest concerns? Anybody?
Am I gonna get it? That's pretty much.
That's an obvious one,
yeah,
right?
But
other than that, were you worried about working with other people? What were some things that were going through your mind as far as it is scary. It's the first time you're doing something like this. So what were some things that were going through your heads as far as big concerns you were going to potentially be dealing with? And
just literally messing up at that point, because it's such a bigger thing than I am,
Sure.
Coming into a company that you really aren't too familiar with, anything that's is wrong, that's on you.
Yeah.
And that's one concern that I had, and I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was doing, I was following orders, listening to what people were saying.
Sure.
That was pretty much my main concern. I didn't want to ruin anything,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anybody else big concerns is the amp up?
Well, I wasn't sure I was qualified.
Yeah.
But it's hard going from I'm a student to now I'm in a professional workspace.
Absolutely.
But that's what the internship is for. They know going in you're not going to be up to the speed of a full-time employee there, but they're there to help you and, you know, guide you to get better.
Definitely. So David raised a really good point, guys. I think a lot of people, and you are probably in this situation yourselves, thinking, how am I possibly going to apply to something that I don't necessarily have like a work experience for? But one thing that I think people don't think of are like something called transferable skills, like skills that you have from like, even if you worked at like Starbucks, you know, the fact that you probably have customer service experience. You probably maybe dealt with money. You've probably, you show up on time. You've been there for a year. Those are things that a lot of people are looking for when it comes to interns that I think a lot of people are overlooking because they're like, oh, I've never worked at a TV station or I've never worked at a radio station. And they're focusing so much more on that part as far as they're freaking out about it and not on like, what are the skills I have that are actually going to make me work for this thing? So that's a great point. What was everybody's average day like when they were interning? Anybody?
The average day, let's see. Basically being in the office from 10 to 2, that was just office hours, making voice memos, creating contact sheets, anything the promotion manager really had us to do. And outside of the office, we'd be outside, 90 degrees, carrying heavy equipment around, to be honest, it all varied on the day, whether if I'm going to be inside, outside, interacting with artists, or just interacting with people like salespeople.
Sure. Sure. Anybody else have a different experience? Or?
I mean, I work at the same place, so it's kind of
We're basically, you can answer for each other.
thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
So.
Okay, that's fair. What about you, David?
I was writing 2 to 3 web posts a day.
Okay.
And, we have this like contest called Dan's Best of the Best, where like people from the community vote on their favorite restaurant or their favorite dentist, or whatever. So then I would find kind of daily things, which I used like the quirky calendar a lot. So one I did was like, try Dan's Best coffee for National Joe Day, and like stuff like that. And we also do a lot of covering like celebrities that have houses in the Hamptons.
Okay.
So a lot of catching up with what Jennifer Lopez, Scarlett Johansson, Alec Baldwin, what they're up to.
Sweet. So, Allie, I'm going to jump to you because as we mentioned, your internship was online, which is kind of unique. As far as how that worked, I mean, how did you check in with people? How did they monitor your progress? How did they let you know what to do and see that you were doing it correctly?
Well, we have an app called Slack that we used, and that's how we logged in our hours every day. And then at the end of every day, we would have to email our editor and let them know what we did, how long, everything like that. But it was definitely a very different experience considering I had to make my own hours.
Sure.
But on top of that, it was doubled, so I had to do 180 hours for this semester.
Wow.
While doing 6 classes here, having a job, like it was a lot to manage. So that was honestly my biggest concern.
Man, that is wild. That is an incredible amount of time. We're going to get to time management in just a second. So for all of you guys, what type of pre-planning did you do in order to get your internship? As far as research, as far as, just looking into the potential of what it was, as far as looking at yourself, as far as what skills you had that would work. So any kind of pre-planning you might have done before you got your internship?
I mean, I did 2 internships at 2 different radio stations. So I kept the job at JVC, but I also interned at Cox Media.
Okay.
And when I went to go do that, I was actually emailing back and forth with the internship director there, Tiana.
Oh, she's great. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was talking to her back and forth for a good year before I actually interned there.
Okay.
And she was explaining the internship to me. I did a phone interview with her, and then I didn't get like the in-person for that semester, but then she emailed me again and said, do you want summer or fall? And I ended up doing that following fall, so it was fall 16. So I had already had an internship under my belt in a way, so I kind of knew what it was like to be a radio intern, so I knew what to expect, kind of.
Sure.
So.
That's great. Anybody else, any kind of pre-planning you did?
Definitely a lot of research, not even just for the company that I was working for now. Definitely like a lot either on the island, on the city, looking for the specific skills they were looking for, looking for what qualifications I could apply there.
Where did you find those answers, by the way?
Career service, Career service is
okay, that's fair.
But,
usually the job posting too, I mean like just looking into what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like
that's
that.
sweet.
Yeah.
What were some of the parts about it that you enjoyed the most and the least when you guys were interning? What were some things, let's start with the least, like things you really didn't like. I think people are terrified of like, oh, I'm just gonna get coffee, or I'm gonna have to clean a bathroom, or things like that. Like, it freaks people. I know when I was like thinking of interning when I was into audio like a million years ago, I was like, I do not want to be the guy that just cleans bathrooms. That is terrifying to me, even though, it shouldn't really be. But, so what were things, your favorite and least favorite things about your internships?
I mean, I had gotten coffee, but it was kind of like we all wanted to go get coffee,
Sure.
sort of thing.
Sure.
So, and we still do it.
Yeah.
But my least favorite was probably having to work like 15-hour days unpaid because, like we said, like there are concerts.
Yeah.
So
Those
we
are
had
long
to,
days, yeah.
and it's 95 to 100 degrees outside. So it's hot and it's
Yeah.
all open there. So the venue is a completely open outdoor venue. So there's no
Yeah.
AC. You're outside all day. You're thirsty. You're tired. You're unpaid.
I can see those as all being least favorites. Those check off on
Yeah.
least favorites, absolutely.
But I had a good group of people to work with, so that was my favorite part. And I'm
That's
still like really close with a couple of them.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
I still work there, but I'm still close with a lot of them. So the people kind of make it more worth it, and they
Sure.
try to bring out the best of your long day.
Well, that's great. Well, at least being around good people is
Yeah.
like such an important part of anything like that.
Yeah, so it helps.
Yeah. What about you guys?
My least favorite, I think would be like. Okay, so I was raised very like incentive-minded,
Uh-huh.
and so getting the A when you turn in a paper is like, yes, it's
For
a
sure.
good job.
Yeah.
You don't get that when you're just like churning out one story after another. It's like, okay, thanks. Here's your next assignment.
Sure.
So that took some getting used to.
Interesting.
But now, like I can take pride in my own work. I don't need someone else to pat me on the back.
That's great. That's awesome. What about you, Allie?
My least favorite part was definitely the hours.
I sense a reoccurring theme coming along.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, and especially making my own and having so much to do. I was expected to write 10 stories a week, so it was a lot in the beginning. Definitely got the hang of it, but that was hard to get used to.
Yeah.
And it wasn't always great that I had to do this on my own. So it's not like I could just be like go up to my editor and be like, all right, I need help fixing this. Like I'd have to wait for a response. It was kind of hard, like not having someone right next to me.
I'm sure. Yeah, that would I would think that would be one of the largest challenges by far.
Yeah, but honestly, it really helped me learn how to manage my time so much better by constantly needing to get stories
Yeah.
out when they were happening. So
That's great.
that was my favorite part, like working on it and
That's
getting
awesome.
to write.
Yeah, these guys are awesome. So we're kind of covering this a little bit, but how did everybody handle the school/life/work balance? I think that's something that is really daunting. I mean, clearly when you're talking about the amount of hours you're doing, there's no question. But just in general, I mean, you're going to school for like 20, 30, however many hours a week. You're trying to be like a person who's like getting out into the world after high school and like living a life you're supposed to live, and now you're interning, you might have jobs. So how did you balance those things?
I mean, I got lucky, so mine was in the summer.
Yeah.
So
But even
for
still,
the
like-
second one, I was only doing the one class.
Okay.
I worked part-time and I worked in an urgent care.
Mm-hmm.
So they switched it, so instead of me working every weekend, I worked every other weekend so that I was
Okay.
able to have more time for.
So you had a flexible job. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, they were really good with it.
Yeah.
So they understood that like school comes first.
Sure.
And I have to do what my school requires for me to graduate.
Definitely.
Because they wanted me to go full-time there.
Yeah.
But they kind of tried to work with me.
That's
It wasn't
great.
always guaranteed, but they did try.
Awesome. What about you guys?
Time management. I made sure that I was going to school the whole week and always working, Monday through Friday. Social life is cool and all, but I made sure that was just for the weekends. I was trying to focus on what I was trying to focus on.
Yeah.
So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I would work at my other job and go to school. And Tuesdays and Thursdays, I would be interning. And this was during the school semester. I wasn't interning at the place that I'm working for now. I interned at a recording studio. And
Which one was it?
Sabella Studios.
Oh, that's an amazing place, yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool and a great experience. And I think a lot of that experience also applies to what I'm doing now.
Sure.
But definitely the time management, I looked at it as I got to do what I got to do.
Yeah.
If that means that I'm not going to be home for the majority of the week, so be it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it.
I mean, dare I ask?
For me, I probably just didn't sleep for the first month,
Good answer.
honestly.
It's a good answer.
Yeah, don't think I got any sleep. It wasn't until a few weeks into the internship I started getting some feedback, and my editor and some other people that work there were like, wow, you're putting out so many stories. It's amazing. Like, I don't know how you have time for this in school. And I was like, well, you told me I had to, so I did it.
Sure.
But they started giving me really good feedback, and I told them, I was just like, I need to take it a step back just a little bit. And they were completely supportive of it, honestly.
That's great.
Yeah, so got some sleep, like 4th weekend.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What about you, David?
Kind of the same thing as him.
Yeah.
When you have the 3-day school, 2-day work, you just kind of have to cut out the social life, and just hunker down, finish what you got to do,
Mm-hmm.
and then your friends will still be there.
That's true. Hopefully. Yeah. Let's see. How was your real world experience different than your school experience as far as what you were expecting it to be? Like you're in class, you're told like this is what you're going to expect when you're out there. What was it like when you actually were there and you were actually doing things for real? How did that differ for any of you? David, maybe you want to start with that.
Well, the work environment there is surprisingly laid back, which really surprised me. Everyone, was sort of like stroll in when they want in the morning, leave when they want to leave. If you have a story idea, pitch it, chances are you'll get to run with whatever crazy idea you have. I was thinking a lot more structured, but it's been a great experience and I'm really happy there. So.
That's great. Anybody else?
I mean, radio is kind of like a really laid back place too. So it's kind of like yeah, there's the really professional parts where like, you come in, you're dressed in like the nice clothes because you're a sales rep. You have to go out and you have to be presentable. But then
Sure.
like you look at other people, like Donna, people literally come in sweatpants.
I'm sure they do.
So it varies on the day.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was, I interned, as I said myself, and like, I was shocked after my internship was over. I interned for 3 months, and then I just felt like, and I went to a 9-month vocational school, and I felt like I learned as much in those 3 months as I did in like a year of going to school, just because like the practical daily stuff, like what it's like to interact with clients, like obviously the hands-on technical stuff depending on what your concentration is, but just, I really just felt like it was just this onslaught of like, oh my God, this is so eye-opening, and I learned all these technical things in school, and I thought I was prepared, but then when I was actually in front of it, it was different than what I at least thought I was preparing myself for. Anybody feel kind of similar to that? Sort of, not really? Sort of, okay. So what is everybody doing now? I mean, we know you guys are still at JVC.
Yeah.
And you're about to graduate, correct? In a
Yeah.
few weeks, congratulations.
Thanks.
And what about yourself?
The internship became a part-time gig, became a full-time gig. So now I'm assistant editor at Dance Papers.
Okay. So I want to talk about that transition because I think it's important for people to know between, interning to either asking for like, hey, I've been here for X amount of months. Is it possible to turn this into a full-time job? How did everybody handle that? Dr. Dave, maybe we'll start with you.
No. Well, after the internship ended, the person I was working under didn't want to lose me, so they actually created a new position for me. He basically took some of the work off his plate and like gave it to me, and so I worked 6 hours a week, minimum pay from home, which was nice. Just managing the online community calendar that we have. But that like kept me on the boss's radar. So then the next time a position opened up, they brought me up to full-time.
That's great.
Salary, which was cool.
That's awesome. How about you guys?
I got the internship, after the internship was over, I was kind of just like, listen, if I'm not getting the position, I'm not staying kind of thing. So he handed me the packet, hired me. So I was just promotions. Yeah, and then with the production, one of the guys came up to me and said, hey, do you want to do it? Trained me. I learned that. I did the morning show 1 day a week. And then when they gave that position to Ryan, they offered me a board op position. So the program director for one of the stations has come up to me. He's like, hey, do you want to board op Sunday nights? Come and learn. And I said, okay. So now I do it every Sunday. And I fill in every once in a while for other shows, but it's only the ones that I know how to do, because then they have to set up so that I can go in and train if they know someone's not going to be there. So.
Sure. Ryan, what about you?
Same thing, actually. It wasn't until the end of the internship that's when they offered me a position, and I was still doing promotions and all, still doing all the heavy labor and stuff. And it wasn't until one of the program directors overheard a conversation of me with another person. I was talking about how like I produce music and all that stuff, and overheard it. He's like, "Oh, you do production?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "How would you like to do fill in 1 day type of thing?" So I said, "Okay, I did my work. I got my work done quick." And it wasn't until July where they said, "You know what? Like, want to do Monday through Friday?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, please." Like,
sure,
like,
of
I'd
course.
love to,
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm doing now. Waking up, crack of dawn, like 4:45. I gotta be there at 5:30 in the morning.
You're a better person than I am. Yeah, that's great. Well, that's great.
Yeah,
And so, Allie, you obviously you've done internships. You're about to graduate. What's your plan? How are you looking to kind of navigate into the working world?
So I actually am not applying to the place I had, which is different, but They definitely angled their stuff towards the end of my time there. They switched to main editors, so they angled it more towards celebrity, like gossip and news, and that's not the direction I want to go in.
Okay.
So I want to go more into field reporting, I believe,
That's
as well
great.
as like a side with writing, because I still do really love writing.
Sure. And what are you thinking of any place in particular, or that you're like you have your heart set on like the New York Times, Vice magazine, and like?
Ideally, something as like creative as BuzzFeed.
Awesome.
I want kind of that environment.
That's great. So I'm going to ask one more question, and then I'm going to ask the audience to ask some questions. I hope you guys are ready. You look absolutely not ready. So if you guys could give yourself some advice, the student self some advice, if the you now could give your student self some advice as far as how you handled stuff when you were here and that transition of an internship into a job, what would you do differently? What advice would you give the people here that are going to be in your shoes, very, very soon?
I would say don't give up. Stay constant with your work. Show them that you really want to be there. They will notice that, and that's one thing that a lot of people don't really realize. I've seen a lot of interns that don't really look interested or don't want to be there, and of course they're gone now. But if you really show your dedication, devote your time into it, good things come out of it. They will really appreciate it and realize it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You're going to start from the bottom, but you'll work your way up.
Big time.
So that's really what it is. That's what I would have told myself, because I was
Yeah.
so scared about starting from the bottom and not getting anything more than just what I started as.
Sure.
And it slowly progresses where they'll come up to you and they'll ask you to do more.
Mm-hmm.
So they know that you want to be there and you want to make it,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to try and help you the best you can.
Absolutely. What about you guys?
I would say don't be afraid to ask for help.
Great advice. Really great advice.
That was going to be part of mine.
You're piggybacking right now,
But
sir.
well, no. But the other part too is also don't be afraid to ask someone to re-explain something, which was rather than just nod like you agree with something I had to learn the hard way the first few weeks. They'll be more than happy to show you in a different way or kind of lead you through it the first time. That way you'll learn better and get in the swing of it.
Actually, I'm going to ask one more question before I turn it over to you guys. I interned at a studio, and then I became the studio manager there. And so I was then in charge of hiring interns. And one thing, and I want to see how you guys feel about it, your downtime. Not that there's a ton of it, but when you do have downtime, utilizing your downtime to at least make it look like I'm going to say make it look like it, but utilizing that time to the best of your ability. So not being on your phone and actually maybe, asking people, are there other things I could do? How did everybody feel about that? And how did they deal with downtime and how people were viewing you? And because all of that stuff is kind of a test. They say, okay, here's this person, they're working they're observing you the whole time you're there, and they definitely take note of what you're doing when you're not working. So how did you handle that? What is some advice you can give some people, especially in our modern culture when everybody's like attached to their device constantly? What would you say about that?
I used to ask to go shadow other places, other departments,
Awesome.
so that I could see, because it's JVC has 5 different stations, so each station is run differently. The only one I wouldn't ask to go in was the Spanish one, because I don't understand what they're saying, so it kind of
That's
didn't
fair.
work out that way.
Sure,
But
sure.
the other ones I would ask to just go look and shadow.
That's great.
For my downtime, I literally didn't. I wouldn't say I didn't want downtime, but I would want to work. Show them that
Yeah.
I really want to work. So I said listen, here's my days off. You need coverage. You need this, that. I'll be willing to give up that downtime to
Yeah.
be where I should be.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Again, yours will probably be slightly different since you were kind of
Yeah.
self-regulating, but
Yeah, for me, I actually had to be on my phone constantly because that's how I was being contacted.
Sure.
So my phone was always with me.
All right.
Always were getting messages and everything about what to write, what to do.
you get a pass this time, Allie, but that's fair. It's totally fair. What about you?
Just always be looking for your next story.
Mm-hmm.
Is my advice. We've had interns that after they finish an assignment, they'll just sit there and it's well, okay, but you need to show some initiative, and it looks great to the higher ups
Absolutely.
too, obviously.
Absolutely. Do you guys have any questions? I'm sure you do. Please. Yes, Star.
Okay, so my question is, anyone?
Oh, hang on one quick second.
All right.
Go right ahead.
All right. So anyone can answer this if it applies. But what was your first day like? Can you describe the feelings that you were going through, or just you were nervous, if you were excited? What was going on in your mind? Do you think you're gonna get something out of it?
So it was both excitement and a lot of anxiety. I'm not gonna lie. I was definitely really nervous my first day. I didn't know what to expect, but the day went on, you know, I was always asking questions. They were like he said, you ask questions, they're willing to help. You know, don't be afraid to ask questions. And yeah.
I mean, my first day was completely different because my boss actually forgot to include me on the emails. So my first event was a concert, and I walked in, everybody had already met, and I just kind of sat in the corner, and they were just like, oh, come hang out with me. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to hang out over here. So my first day was completely different than his, even though we interned at the same time. So.
What about you guys?
My first day consisted of a 3-hour conference call going over all of my responsibilities, so it was very stressful and terrifying.
Well, like you said, again, a lot of anxiety that first day.
Yeah.
But I think also a lot of just being very aware of what everybody else is doing and just trying to get a feel of the pace and the vibe, I guess, and like, you know, how just try, and also just, you know, I was trying very hard not to go too hard on myself that first day because I knew, you know, they knew it was my first day. I knew it was my first day, so, yeah.
That's a great question. Anybody else? Shocking. Oh, yeah, you have one. Yes, please.
Hi. My question is, I guess, as an intern, you obviously didn't get to do like everything you wanted to do. So how did you like really get through the tough parts of like bad parts of the job, I guess?
Wanting it.
Yeah.
Wanting to get the job.
Yeah.
And having a job in the field that you're going to school for because it's such a competitive field. Like communications is a huge field and it's so competitive to try and get into. So when you get that opportunity, fight.
Yeah.
Fight for the position. Don't give up on it.
Yeah. Definitely don't let that slip out of your hands. You know,
Yeah.
there's gonna be things that you don't want to do, but I feel like that's with every job, you know? And just getting through it, just getting through the day, like that's how I looked at it. I'm just like, all right, I just got 5 hours to do what I gotta do. Let me just finish that, so be it. And just keep doing it. Like I said, keep constant and they will notice that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say be very yes-minded, not no-minded. You know, whatever they have you to do, you just have to like find some positive aspect of it that excites you. You know, even if it's just, you know, something minor, but like just find something you can enjoy about it. And you know, they'll see that, and as they, you know, give you stuff you don't want to do, and you're crushing it, you know, then they'll give you a little more freedom to work on what you want to do. So.
Great. Well, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate your insight. Thanks for coming. Maybe a hand for everybody, guys. That'd be great. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Actually, one more thing. We're off. I know Billo and Emily actually went to